All right then, everyone. Tomorrow Celtic will go for the treble against Aberdeen at Hampden Park. Is it going to be glory or despair? It's tended to be glory in recent years. We're going to talk about all of that today and a few other things. Asim is here. Asim, I need to start with the time. It's 1:30 in the morning for you. I mean, this is dedication to the max. I appreciate it.
No, not at all. It's been a while since I've been on any kind of Celtic fan media and your channel. But yeah, it's on the eve of a potential treble. So yeah, doesn't matter that it's a late one. I'm happy to come on and talk about what hopefully will be another momentous day and just yeah, it's just you can never get used to these days, can you? But you kind of have recently just how dominant Celtic have been, and I think we're all in pretty confident mood. But yeah, you don't want to take it for granted.
I was going to ask you that. Nerves? Have you got any nerves? Do you feel pretty relaxed?
Strangely, none at all, and I don't know if that's a concern because like we pummeled Aberdeen just a week ago, 5-1. Everything points to, everyone's saying nobody's talking about a potential shock, and you're almost like, nah, it's not going to be. I don't think it'll be straightforward, but I've got such belief in Rodgers and this team that when it counts, when it matters, we'll get the job done. So no, I'm not nervous. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Managed to get a ticket, and I hopefully I think we'll do the job.
Yeah, it's strange because I feel the exact same way. And again, I don't know if that's an unusual feeling. You can let us know in the comments how you're feeling ahead of the game tomorrow. But I don't actually have any nerves, and I kind of feel ahead of kickoff that I won't really. I guess
Yeah.
that comes from just being so confident in the team to deliver in these big occasions.
Yeah, and I know Aberdeen are on really, really bad form, but I think regardless of who we were playing, I think it's the fact that Rodgers, especially his record at Hampden, his record in cup semis and finals, you just have complete trust in him, and the team as well. I think you look at it for since the split, obviously other than the St Mirren game there, but we've when we had to clinch the title, you look at the result at Tannadice, even the second string team against Aberdeen away, Hibs at home was a good performance. So yeah, we've kind of ramped it up again in recent weeks. Saturday it was all about James Forrest's goal, wasn't it, in the end? And then yeah, you think that we'll be back on it again on Cup final day, and yeah, I think that will be the message from Brent. I liked what I heard from Callum McGregor at the end as well. Just shows you, that's why he is the winner that he is. He's got that mentality. Everyone's celebrating Trophy Day, and he was quick to talk about how he was disappointed with the performance. So I think that's the characteristics and the mentality that runs throughout this team, and particularly our captain and our manager. That yeah, we'll make sure we're on it on Saturday.
This show has been created in affiliation with NordVPN. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, everyone. It secures your connection, protecting your personal information and online activity, especially on public Wi-Fi. A VPN can also make your phone or laptop appear like it's in another country, making it great for accessing content while travelling. So if you're heading away anytime soon and want to get a VPN, NordVPN are the best in the business, in my humble opinion. And as a Celtic AM viewer or listener, you can get up to 74% off NordVPN's 2-year plans, plus 3 extra months thrown in as well. There's no risk with their 30-day money-back guarantee either. NordVPN.com/CelticAM is the link, and it's also in the description. Right, we heard from Brendan Rodgers yesterday. A few things to pick up on. Injury report, everyone. Rio Hatate and Jota are out of this one. That's it in terms of the main cast of first team players. Obviously Dane Murray, I think, but he clearly wouldn't have played. But everyone else raring and ready and raring to go. In terms of the team, Asim, the big selection debate, I think, is James Forrest or Nicholas Kuhn. What are you saying?
There's a strong case for James Forrest. The last few games he's been really, really up for it. He's obviously got his goal at the weekend, but even just his performances, anytime he comes on, I thought he was really good against Aberdeen when he started. Just looks really lively, and you would never have thought we'd have said this at the start of the season that James Forrest would potentially be starting the cup final ahead of Nicholas Kuhn, who was on fire in the early part of the season. But I think there is a debate to be had. My only point would be is I like the idea of Forrest coming on. I think, as well as he's done, I think he's great to bring on in a game, whether we're needing to bring in a bit of life and energy as we've seen, or even just game management. I think he's so clever with the ball. He uses possession well. He's always making the right option. So if we're seeing out a game or whatever the circumstance may be, I think he's a great option to bring on. Nicholas Kuhn, less so. I think he's either starts and he starts really well, or if he's not having a good game, then when we can change it up. So I think a lot of people will be divided on it, but for me, I think Nicholas Kuhn starts. I think the rest of the team again pretty much picks itself. The other one maybe would be Bernardo or
Yeah.
Luke McCowan.
And on that, what do you think?
I've seen a lot of people say what I also thought, which was Bernardo. You'd have liked to have seen him do a lot more to really cement his place and show that he's the guy that should be playing in this final. Such a great opportunity for him, and I thought he was fairly kind of passive and just kind of average in that game. McCowan, he's looked lively in moments, looked careless in other moments, but I think Rodgers has tended to go with Bernardo, and obviously his usual midfield three would be with Rio Hatate in there, but when that's not been the case, he tends to go with Bernardo, doesn't he? Luke McCowan hasn't really started any big games this season, and I think he's had a good first season. McCowan, been happy with his contributions. I think he'll continue to develop and be a good player for us, but. There's an argument for both. I wouldn't be disappointed if McCowan was to start, but I think it'll be Bernardo.
I mean, look, McCown, the only big game he started was that derby, wasn't it? We lost at Celtic Park, but that was when Callum McGregor was missing. I think Bernardo was missing at that stage as well, and he effectively had to play. I like Luke McCowan as well. I think he's been really good. I just would still go for Bernardo, just like a wee bit more physicality in a game like tomorrow, a wee bit more experience as well in these kind of fixtures. In terms of the Forest or Kuhn debate, you're saying it's kind of split. All of the comments I've seen here and on the Celtic way have been in favour of James Forrest. So I don't know if there's a silent minority or majority out there who feel that it should be Kuhn, but everything I'm seeing, people saying it should be James Forrest. And I think, interestingly, a lot of what Brendan Rodgers is saying, obviously he's not come out outright and said who'll start, but wee things he's saying, I think, are just hinting towards James.
Who would you go with?
James Forrest, 100%.
Yeah.
I think you look at current form, Forrest no doubt is in better form than Nicholas Kuhn. Experience of this fixture, Forrest has scored I think in 3 different finals for us at Hampden. He scored a number of times against Aberdeen at Hampden, including last season semi-final. I remember him scoring a cracker in another semi against Aberdeen, so he's got that over Kuhn. And I just think he's like riding the crest of a wave at the moment, James Forrest. Sometimes it's like in football, it's the intangibles, and it's hard to quite put your finger on the James Forrest stuff, but he's just, there's something about him at the moment, something magical. It's like this is, after 16 years, this is his time finally coming at Celtic, which is ridiculous to say, but it feels like finally he's getting the credit he deserves. Finally he's the main man for a wee period. 100% would start him. And the fact he terrorised Shinnie. I don't know if Shinnie will play at left back, but he terrorised Shinnie last time.
I doubt it. But you made a really strong case there. Quite the pitch, to the point where I wouldn't be disappointed either way. Again, I won't be like, oh, that's a bad call, regardless of who he goes with. But yeah, sometimes it is just the confidence that he'll have got, the euphoria from last weekend. He's been in good form anyway. There's a strong argument for it. It's just probably again what Rodgers, because I think Aberdeen will be stuffy. I don't think they'll play anything like they did at Pittodrie. I think they'll try and really contain and make it not a pretty game to watch, because I thought at Pittodrie the other week, they were very open, and that's what made it quite an enjoyable watch. It was there's a lot of space in behind it. I think it'll be quite the opposite. So if that's the case, again, it's just about making the right decisions and the right subs to make potentially, because the game could go into the second half and still be tight. So good options with both, and similarly in the midfield, I think whatever option he goes for, we're placed pretty well. And it's interesting you mentioned obviously Jota and Hatate both been out. Two of our kind of players that earlier in the season, or just in general, you look at our squad, two of our stars of the squad, some might say, and you don't have a concern. Really gutted for Rio because I think he's came on to a bit of form recently, and it would have been great to have him there. But it just shows the strength and depth that we've got in some areas where even without those two, again, as we spoke about at the start, you don't feel worried, you don't feel nervous. We've got more than enough there to take care of Aberdeen.
So tomorrow could well be Greg Taylor's, I think, 216th game. I counted them all earlier. It could be his final game for Celtic as well. But Brendan Rodgers says that's not 100% set in stone. The update here is that he had a long chat with Taylor during the week, I think on Thursday. He says the door isn't fully closed and there'll be more talking to do once Saturday's game is over and done with. Rodgers reiterated his keenness to keep Greg Taylor at the club. That's obviously not news. Interestingly, I thought this bit was interesting. He said that it's not all on Taylor, that this is a big contract for him. I think he's 27 years old. He's just become a father. And I'm not sure if that was a bit of a plea to the club to potentially offer Taylor a bit more money. But yeah, he spoke about that. He also said that there'll be plenty of game time next season for Taylor, even though Kieran Tierney will be there, especially in the first half of the season. And he also spoke about the different types of games that we'll play, which I thought was interesting. And again, goes back, I think, to the different styles. Taylor's maybe more suited to a certain kind of match, whereas Kieran Tierney maybe other kind of matches. Not to say that Tierney can't play in lower domestic games, but maybe Taylor and his kind of inverted stuff's a little bit more suited to that. So that's good. However, Asim, it does seem like Taylor's still probably heading, given his posts on Instagram last week.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like Rodgers, right from like halfway through the season, has been pretty open and consistent on his messaging on Taylor. He goes out of his way any opportunity to big him up and talk about how much he wants him to stay. So you can see that there's more factors involved here than just, I think there's a few issues at play, whether it's Taylor wanting to be assured that he's going to get enough game time if he was to stay, whether it's the club thinking, do we want to pay what Taylor wants for effectively someone who's not going to be first choice? A number of things. I think Taylor ideally would stay if he was given assurances and was getting the contract that he feels he merits. I think Rodgers wants him to stay, but I think there's probably just an issue there with the club as well in terms of the club's idea of what they would want to do with Taylor's contract. So I think there's still a bit to go with this. I think Rodgers is still wanting to keep him. And Taylor, his post would suggest he's on his way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
stranger things have happened where it could be that Rodgers works his charm and tries to convince him, because I think he really wants him to stay, and he keeps on reiterating this point about game time being split between the two. If we qualify for the Champions League, yeah, it's a lot of games we're going to have, and as you mentioned, it will be a case of picking the right player for the right game. They're two completely different styles of fullback. That's the thing as well. We don't know what kind of Tierney we're going to see, but he's not your typically inverted type of fullback who gets involved so much in the possession. But he could. That's something that obviously Arsenal do as well. So it's something he's maybe picked up and learnt on. Um, I don't know about you. I would be happy if that was our two left back options
Oh
next
yeah,
season.
yeah.
And I think we've seen that the amount of fullbacks we've brought in trying to overtake Taylor, and it's just not happened. Now, look, I've criticised Taylor in the past as well. I've mentioned that I think it's an area that we could strengthen, and I stand by that. And I think Kieran Tierney is that player. But I've said it as well that I think Taylor's more than adequate. He does a job. He's been good in certain parts of every season he's been with us nearly, and he seems well liked, and he seems like someone that the dressing room enjoy having there as well. So yeah, there's a strong argument that these two together could be an effective combo.
It just seems from that post, was it lived it and loved it, he said, which is past tense. And I know we're bad, I guess, for reading too much into social media posts. That seemed pretty definitive to me. But, on the other point, what I would say is that, Celtic, when they knew players were leaving in the past, tended to tell us about it officially before their final game. So obviously last season we had the Joe Hart stuff. That was a bit different. I think that was about March time that he announced that, and that was him retiring, so it was a huge story. Remember like the Rogic and Beaton stuff when out of the blue, I think a day after we won the title at Tannadice, they announced it ahead of Trophy Day, and those two players, Tom Rogic in particular, got a massive send-off. They've not done this at all, which to me suggests that it's not completely confirmed that Taylor is going. I still think there's conversations there. I just hope that it can be tied up, because he's had his critics. I've been critical, you've been critical, people at times, but he's been a really good Celtic player. He's been a great signing, and if you have him next to Tierney, I think we'd all be pretty delighted with that. But if it is to be his final game tomorrow, hopefully we can win it for Greg Taylor as well as ourselves. Bit of surprising speculation linking Arne Engels with a move to Atalanta, who were of course linked to Matt O'Reilly last year. I think this comes from Sport Italia in Italy. Reports in Scotland saying that we're in no rush to sell Engels after paying a club record £11 million last year. Engels was asked about the report. He says, "I didn't read it, so it's the first time that I've heard about it. There will always be something to write or to talk about, and if you have a good season and hopefully win a lot of things, then there will always be clubs and always be speculation around a lot of players. I think I'm not the only one here that will have speculation in the summer. I'm just focused here now on the next game, and it's a really big one, and then in the summer I only want to get better." He's not going anywhere, is he?
No, it's interesting that he's getting linked already. Like, I think he's had a good season, but I still think there's a lot more to come from him. But it just shows you that's the model working already. We brought him in, and like I say, he's had a good season, but I think he can improve on a lot as well. But already, look, it could just be very kind of false rumours or anything, we don't know, but a club like Atalanta being linked already bodes well for him potentially in the future, and for us obviously if we are to sell down the line. But for now, no, I don't. That's I'm looking for a big season from him next season. Potentially a breakout season where he really kind of shows what he's capable of, and now that he's accustomed to what it entails to play at a club like Celtic, I think that's a big factor in it. It's the demands week in, week out, the 2 games a week, all these kind of things that will be new to him. Now he'll be used to it, and I think we'll see an improved Arne Engels hopefully next season.
Yeah, certainly hope so, but he's not going anywhere for now.
Nah.
Lots to still achieve at Celtic. Tomorrow, North Curve putting out the message to wear the hoops. So if you're going wear the hoops, pretty simple. Asim, you got the hoops looked out?
Yep, I'll have them on. I've got my sponsors hoops. So yeah, hopefully, I don't know, the weather's been brilliant. You'll have heard, Hamish, for the last 2-3 weeks. It's been blue skies, plenty of sunshine, warm, but I think as of this weekend, it's
I've got
again,
the forecast if you want it.
Yeah.
So if you're asking, are we going to get another sunny final like we've had the past few years? No is the answer. Light rain is forecast. I think 70% chance of rain during the game. A bit of sun earlier in the day, so I don't know, maybe that can carry on. Weather forecasting isn't going to be a future career for me, is it? I've not quite got it. Yeah, yeah, he'll be moaning about that. I think he's going along. Bring a jacket if you're going to the game, but prepare for maybe some sun at times as well. No lightning, sadly, for any Tom Rogic fans. Remember that the last time we played Aberdeen. Just on that, and I realise it's very late for you, so apologies for asking you a question like this, but last time we lost a cup final, when was it?
Rangers? Nikita Jelavic? No.
I think it was
one after that.
Following season, yeah. Same competition.
Hearts? Craig Beattie?
That was a semi. It was
Kilmarnock. Was that Kilmarnock?
So that's the last time Celtic lost a final.
That was a period where we were awful at Hampden. We lost to St Mirren, Kelly, Hearts, Ross County, and all within a
Ross County twice.
Seasons. Yeah, Ross County twice, once under Lennon, once under Dyla. Was at both of those games. Yeah, I've kind of resigned a lot of them to the back of my mind, but yeah, there was so many defeats at Hampden that's why I was like, trying to rack my brain there. But yeah, that was the last thing. So what would that be? 20. Stevie's the one that's usually brilliant at these dates, isn't
So
he?
it was the 18th of March 2012. I always remember that because the following
12.
week was the 25th and we had the chance to win the league at Ibrox and we failed, and
Oh,
I was at both of them, and it was a couple of grim Sundays in a row. But that, as I say, March 2012. So since then, I think this is an amazing stat. Since then, Celtic have won 15 finals in a row. And when you consider finals are difficult. Like finals, a lot of the time you're coming up against the second best team in the country, whether that's Rangers or Aberdeen. If it's not them, we've played Hearts in finals, we've played Hibs in finals. These are tough games against teams who are like, it's their biggest game of the season. And to win 15 in a row, I'm kind of, and this is a stat you're never going to be able to find out. Has a team at the kind of top level of football, do you think a team's ever won 15 finals in a
no.
row? I would
There'll,
find that hard to believe. It's amazing.
yeah, there'll be someone out there that'll pluck a stat out from like the Montenegrin league or something. But that's incredible. It just shows you achievement. And I'm even trying to look back at a lot of these finals that we've won. Not many of them were probably like ones that were really on the balance. Obviously, the three each, the most recent one, and the went to penalties. But a lot of the other ones, okay, a couple of late wins. Tom Rogic being the most notable against Aberdeen, but yeah, I'm trying to think back. A lot of these other ones we've won pretty comfortably, or we've been comfortable in the game. So just a testament to the consistency, because you're right, finals can go. You've seen Crystal Palace, Man City last week. Man City would have been strong favourites for that. But yeah, Celtic and I hope we're not jinxing it, but yeah, you just trust this team and this manager when it comes to these big games.
It's a good point you make, because I'm looking in the last 9 that we've won. So 2 of them went to penalties. There was the Rangers one, and there was also the Hearts one during the COVID season. Both 3-3, strangely enough, and that was the same score in the semi against Aberdeen last year. So we've had 3-3 that have gone to penalties, which is kind of strange. But anyway, we've won those 2. And then I think there's one we won by 2 goals, which was Inverness. And I mean, Inverness were a championship club, and we still only won that by 2 goals, but I think a goal with the last kick of the game. And every other one, so what's that, the other 6 have all been by a single goal. So you've got like the League Cup final when Kyogo scored 2 against Rangers, the League Cup final when Kyogo scored 2 against Hibs, the Adam Ida one last year. You've got the Ryan Christie game against Aberdeen, the one when we came from behind to beat Hearts in the Scottish Cup final, the Christie Julian Rangers League Cup final, like a lot of narrow games in there. Does that make you think that tomorrow, because I've seen a few people saying, we're going to thump them again, we've thumped them 3 times this season, but I sense it's going to be tight tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think Aberdeen will, I can see them just really, really being dogged and just being hard to beat, and not being very brave, like in terms of getting forward. I think it will be. I think we'll win by a couple of goals in the end, but I think it might take a while to break them down. I don't think it will be like the semi final at Hampden earlier in the season. I can't see that. I'd love for it, but it's a cup final, and as you say, kind of as you mentioned, a lot of those games, yeah, it's always been often tight affairs. So I think it'll be. I think we'll win 2-0. But I don't. I think it'll we'll have to work for it. And I think they'll be difficult to break down, just because especially because of that recent game. What was the Celtic Park game that we beat them as well? Was it 5?
There's been 2 5-1s, one at Pittodrie, one at Celtic Park, and it was a 6-0 in the League Cup at Hampden. So we've thumped them 3 times this season.
Yeah. So I think they'll try something different this time. But I still trust us to find the answers to it. But yeah, I'm going for a victory by 2.
I mean, again, kind of controversial maybe to say, but I hope it's a tough game. Like, I hope Aberdeen come and play well and to an extent make it a game. Remember, how fondly do we look back at that 2017 final with the Tom Rogic goal? I'm not saying I want us to go that late, because that talk about like jeopardy. That was a properly, talk about nerves. That was a nervy game that day. Like Aberdeen were good that day. They took the lead. It was 1-1 for ages. They had chances. I remember one in particular where Johnny Hayes and Kenny McLean messed up. You want Aberdeen to bring the best out of Celtic. You want to see the best of Celtic. I think that's what I would say. Looking forward to it though. To be honest, I do think it's going to be a good final. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I think it's going to be a proper match. They're going to be well organised. It might be stuffy at times, but that's up to Celtic to break them down. And the atmosphere is going to be great. It's going to be a 50-50 split effectively. It's going to look like that, certainly in the lower tier, and bring it on. Okay, just before we go, a couple of wee things. Playoff final first leg between Livingston and Ross County finished 1-1 last night. I'm kind of doubting why I'm telling you that, because we've got a cup final we're looking forward to. But anyway, I guess it's deciding who's going to be in our league next season.
I really hope Livingston don't get up. Apologies to any Livingston supporters that may be watching.
They're not watching.
I don't think they've got many. I tuned in earlier on, and it was, the stadium was looking as empty as ever. But I do not want Livingston straight back up. It's to be fair, the one plus side is one of the stadiums, at least when Celtic play there, it's a full stadium. But
they've only got 1 year of the pitch, because the next year they'll need to go to grass, so maybe you take a wee bit of short-term pain for the long-term gain of having 7,000-8,000 Celtic fans in a grass pitch. Bit of a stooshy after this game. County Chief Executive Stephen Ferguson claims that one of their staff was spat at by a Livingston supporter. Certainly watching the footage, it seemed like something pretty untoward went on there, so that's pretty nasty. Second leg is on Monday night. Also enjoyed this patter from Scott Brown, Fraser Forster, who's part of the Spurs team, Ange Postecoglou's team that won the Europa League the other night, posting his medal. Another one for the collection, he says, and Scott Brown replied saying Marv from Home Alone won a medal. And I don't, you can't see this, Asim, but Fraser Forster's looking a bit like Marv at the moment. He's got the longer hair on the go. Genius patter. But well done to Fraser Forster. And just final shout out, everyone, we're going for 15,000 subscribers by the end of the season, which is tomorrow. So please, if you're watching this and haven't subscribed, click the button. It takes 2 seconds. It's completely free and gets us there. The game's a 3 p.m. kickoff tomorrow. It's live on the BBC and Premier Sports if you're in the UK. We'll be at the pub watching it, and me and Scott will do a video probably from even later than you are right now, Asim. Probably about 2:30 in the morning. The lengths we'll go to give you content. Enjoy the game, Asim, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers. Thank you.